Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Command of Cold Steel. I know I said I was going to be back, but yeah, let's find out when the last episode was, because I can't remember. Whatever it was, I was gonna have another episode up last week, and then I didn't, and then I was gonna have. And the episode was gonna be up like I think it was the week before, but there is something going on. I just want to find out when I uploaded it. Yeah, let's just type in the URL here. There we go. I uploaded a lot of trailers to my YouTube channel yesterday. Okay, it was August 31st, so that makes this about 2-3 weeks. Yeah, I think it's about 3 weeks since yeah, about 3 weeks since the last episode, but I got a good explanation. No, I think it says 2 weeks on the video. Excuse me. Well, anyways, last week I recorded my Blood Punch unofficial commentary. I loved that, and then I put up the review of it on my website after having skipped one. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and explain that. You see, almost immediately after I got done recording and processing the Blood Punch video and putting it up on, at least, setting it to upload to YouTube, my dad had something wrong. He wasn't feeling all that great. He had a really bad dizzy spell, and we had to take him to the hospital. And we were there like 9 hours. We were there 9 or 10 hours at least. Can't remember how long it took them to get him in to see what was wrong with him. We had to wheel him in a wheelchair. We had to practically carry him out to the car. But fortunately he's doing better. But yeah, I didn't feel like actually recording the command on Sunday like I was going to, because I was just wiped out. Because I'd been up. It took me until like 6 a.m. No, 5:30. It was like 5:30 by the time I got to sleep. And so this last week's been, it's been better, but it hasn't been great. But the week that my dad went in, he apparently had some heart trouble, some blockages, and they took him over from the VA to the Air Force Base to have the procedure done, and he was there for a couple of days because the heart surgeons aren't weekend doctors. But yeah, that's been an overall bad week because you guys know my friends Charlie and Scarlett from the Dungeons and Dragons videos. If you don't, they're, go watch them. they're in there. Charlie's the crazy guy who likes stabbing people. The one that's not my dad. But, yeah, they were in a car accident. It's like, at this point, I have absolutely no idea what happened specifically. I know that because I saw a picture of Charlie's truck, and the whole front end was bashed in, and Scarlett apparently hit her head and cracked the windshield. Charlie was in a neck brace, so they obviously weren't there last week for Dungeons and Dragons. We canceled it all around because my dad wasn't feeling up to it. Charlie and Scarlett had just been in that accident, and I'll go ahead and I'll get to something else later. But after that, my other friend David, because he's also been in the D&D videos, but not as much. He's a friend. He's Charlie's friend. He's my friend too. And I found out on that day, it was like right before my dad had to go into the hospital, that his brother, Tad Swan, had been found beaten to death in a ditch. Somebody had stolen his bicycle, his shoes, and his laptop. And that was like 2 weeks ago. No, that was almost a month ago when that happened, and then he was found, I think, 2 weeks later, and now he's up on the slab up in Jackson, Mississippi, and they're trying to figure out cause of death. I mean, you'd think, strangely enough, his wallet wasn't gone, but, you'd think that would be a foul play because of, the fact that his bike and his apparently fairly expensive racing bike and his computer and his shoes were gone. So that sucks. I always kind of just sum up, all the bad stuff as it sucks, because it's just kind of easier to punctuate it like that rather than to try and articulate how depressing the last week or two has been. It was like the week after that was much better. And it hasn't exactly been great. Because, for a long time when I was younger, I used to have ingrown toenails all the time, but then I started wearing steel-toed boots. And, it stopped because whenever I would wear sneakers or anything like that and kick something, I'd always break my toenail and it would always get ingrown later. But ever since I started wearing steel-toed boots, that hasn't happened until now, when it started getting like really bad all of a sudden, just out of nowhere. And it's not anything like I'm going to have to go to the hospital yet. We're dealing with it pretty fine, and soaking my foot in hot water. And I'm swabbing some antibiotic stuff over it and bandaging it up, making sure it's all taken care of. It's It's not bad, it's just not great, because I can't exactly practice my kickboxing with a foot that's infected. But well, it's not my whole foot, it's just the toe, but it's not good anyways. Yeah, immediately after I got done recording the Blood Punch video, there was an ongoing problem at the D&D table that I had to sort out. And, if you guys have seen the videos, you kind of know what it is. As I got these two players, Bubba and Michelle, they've been with me for almost a year now. They started when I started the Hoard of the Dragon Queen module. That was when they started playing at my table, and they were pretty cool. Excuse me. And, they would come up with all these crazy solutions to a problem, come up with, stupid things to say that would be really funny or crazy things to do. And that was great. And then, things started spiraling out of control a little bit. There was the, I keep forgetting that I haven't put up episode 30 because I'm stuck on, episode 26. I gotta edit that. But anyways, episode 29 is gonna be, when it does go up eventually, it's, you're gonna notice that there's gonna be a lot of sound effects and interjections, and that was because they just discovered the Buttons app. And I, after that, you would see in that I got fairly thrown off my game, let's say, and I went ahead and I banned the sound effects apps from the table because because they disrupted the game. They made it hard for me to think. My dad was complaining about it because it interrupts the game, and it just kept going on and on and on. And I think they'd discovered it before then, and they didn't do it all that much, but then they started doing it all out, and it got really bad. And I went ahead and I put a stop to that, and I said, no more sound effects apps at the table. And then the next week, they did something stupid. They were holding back. They ruined my entire little planned out sequence. But, because we were coming to the end of the official Hoard of the Dragon Queen module, and I was going to tack on some sort of extension and connect it to the next module, but they went ahead and committed suicide, or at least tried. And then after that, they pretty much blackmailed me into not recording anymore, which is why episode 30 is like one video. That's about an hour long, hour and a half. But after that, I was trying to be diplomatic. Honestly, I probably should have just gone to Greg right then, because that was so obviously retaliation. That was them being massive dicks to me. And it just, they kept being, they kept being pissy throughout time. They were, between then and now. they were trying to, they were always badgering me to try and get in, because I'm the DM, Oh, I have control over what goes into the game. They were always badgering me to, get us like a deck of many things and a wish spell. And it's, if you ever watch Noah Antwilder's D&D, well, role-playing game in general, podcast, Countermonkey, I call it a podcast, really, because I listen to it like a podcast. But you can watch the video or not. Anyways, if you ever listen to Noah Antwilder's Countermonkey show, then rule number 1 of being a DM is no deck of many things. Rule number 2 is no wish spells. And they ruined David's campaign by wishing the bad guy away, because they'd gotten some wish spells out of a deck of many things they'd badgered him into giving them. And just go ahead and pull the cord out a little bit here. And that pretty much cemented my idea of no decks of many things and no wish spells and no genies, for that matter, because a genie can give them anything they want. Within reason, obviously. But, anyways, the whole thing essentially came to a head 2 weeks ago. And that was when, because this whole, they cast a shadow over the whole campaign, starting it off the way they did, because they essentially forced me to stop recording in the games, even though, they encouraged me to record it back when we started. Hell, I was recording for almost a straight year by the time they stopped. I was like 21 weeks off of being a straight year. But, yeah. So, I went ahead and I talked to Greg, and he, I had a little, idea I was going to do something, but Greg said, you should have come to me about this problem a long time ago, because they've been bullying John, they've been bullying James. If you don't know who those guys are, watch the D&D videos, you'll see it. They've been bullying John, they've been bullying James, they've been trying to bully me, but the thing is that I'm just, I'm like a wall. It just doesn't affect me. That's the thing, is that you can try, but it's like you guys saw my response to the impersonator. Or I'm not the kind of person, and that's easy to shake up. And they're trying to bully my dad. They're pretty much trying to bully everybody, but it got to a point where I was just fed up with it, and I decided, we need to handle this. And so I went ahead and I talked to Greg, and he said, and just go ahead and let me handle this. And now they won't be joining us at D&D Thursday anymore. They won't be joining me at D&D at all. I'm just gonna lay that out there. I will never run a game where they're welcome again, pretty much. But that was immediately after that. My dad had to go to the hospital, because that was right when we got home. Because he and I went out to MacNarb and talked to Greg, and then we got back, and I was messing around on getting all the stuff processed, and immediately after that we had to go to the hospital, because he just had his severe dizzy spell, and and we've been doing our best. He's been getting better. We've been doing our best to make sure he's okay, make sure he's not gonna fall down or anything. So anyways, let's go ahead and get to the comments, shall we? I'm gonna take a drink of water here. The Moogle Master. We only have one comment here this week. The Moogle Master. I have to agree with you about Sonic Unleashed being really hard. I can't pass that one Chinese theme level. Yeah, that's essentially where I stopped too. 3 questions. Do you like heavy metal? I can't remember if you sent in one of those top 100 favorite bands to list critics. I don't write a whole lot of lists for list critics. I mostly send them in. The lists that I've written that I've sent in are ones that I usually post up over on my website, like the top 5 Mega Man clones, which is pretty lame, but I just figured I'd put something together like that. And then my top 6 games of 2014. And then this year I'm going to be sending in my probably going to be top 10 games of 2015, top 5 movies of 2015, top 5 songs, and top 5 books. Yes, I do like heavy metal. I listen to 331 E-Rock, otherwise known as Eric Calderone, Pelliquet. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his real name because it's some Norwegian thing that I have got no clue how to say. It's like Per Fredrik Asle. I call him Pelliquet because that's what he calls himself. And I listen to... I don't know exactly what the definition of heavy metal is, because I listen to a lot of hair metal, like Bon Jovi, and I listen to... I wouldn't exactly know what Black Veil Brides is called. Power metal, maybe. Let's look them up, shall we? Black Veil Brides. I also listen to Cole Rowland. Those guys are pretty good. Cole has kind of slipped a little bit in recent years because his guitar work isn't nearly as controlled as it used to be. Black Veil Brides. And on allmusic.com. Let's look on Wikipedia. Now it's an American rock band. Let's see here, what genres? Yeah, glam metal. Well, yeah, I count that as metal. But, I think of it. I don't actually own a whole lot of albums. I've got a 9 Days album, which is signed by the band members. I've got a Styx album, and then I've got... Then I got the Dirty Dancing soundtrack, which is on vinyl, and I don't have a record player. I just got it because it's a cool little collector's piece, I guess you could say. Yeah, I don't actually own a whole lot of soundtracks. Albums. I mostly have MP3s and stuff like that. I mean, I do have full albums worth of MP3s, but I don't own a whole lot of CDs. Mario or Sonic? Sonic the Hedgehog all the way, always. I pretty much played the Mario games to death because a long time ago that was all I had. Because I had the Mario All-Stars cart for the Super Nintendo with the remakes of Super Mario Lost Levels, Super Mario 2 and Super Mario 3, and Super Mario World. And I had that, and I played all of them to death. Sit me down to Super Mario World, and I can pretty much beat the game. Because I found all of the secrets. I found like crazy stuff that you wouldn't even figure out how to unlock normally. Because I was playing that game so much, because that was the only game I had aside from Donkey Kong Country. Well, that and the Speedy Gonzales game, but that was terrible. It was the closest approximation to Sonic the Hedgehog they had on the Super Nintendo, though. But yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog started better than Mario because the first Mario hasn't aged well. And I've had a lot more fun with the Sonic games than I have the Mario games because the Mario games have, it's essentially the same as Super Mario World. It hasn't changed a whole lot. I like the 3D games, but I don't necessarily think that the best 3D Mario game is any better than the best 3D Sonic game. Because, none of them... First off, they don't have quite as good a soundtrack. They don't have the rock and roll that pretty much defined the Sonic the Hedgehog soundtrack. They also don't have anything in the way of epic plot, Well, it's essentially the same thing over and over again, whereas Sonic the Hedgehog tries to change it up every now and again. Because, they've got a story. It might not necessarily be all that relevant, but it's interesting usually. And it's like, Super Mario 64, and just compare like the first 3D Sonic game to the first 3D Mario game. Sonic Adventure and Super Mario 64. Neither of them are all that well polished by today's standards. But Sonic Adventure is, I'd say, a little less annoying than Super Mario 64. And I like Super Mario 64 quite a bit. It's just that I don't particularly like the whole castle hub thing quite that much. But yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog has always had a better soundtrack, and honestly, the games have aged better. Also, they're faster. They're more interesting. They're just, they're more fun. That's it. And this is me speaking as somebody who's played all of the Super Mario games, all of the Mario games to death. This is me speaking as somebody who has beaten Super Mario World multiple times. It's like, at this point in time, I can't remember what happens when you beat it, but I have beaten it. It's just been so long ago that I've done it, and I've gotten far enough through Super Mario 2, and Super Mario 3 that I can essentially say, that I've beaten all of them. Super Mario 3 is the one that I'd say holds up the best. Slightly better than Super Mario World, even though I like Super Mario World slightly better. But yeah, I've never had the same kinds of great experiences with the Mario games as I have the Sonic games. You just look over on my website. I talked about my experience with Sonic and the Black Knight and how great that was, and how good that game was in terms of story and in terms of gameplay too. And I know Sonic has had his ups and downs. Like, Unleashed wasn't that great, but Colors was awesome. I mean, it deserved to have a better written story. No, better written jokes. It had a fine story, it just needed better presentation. It just deserved a better series of jokes. Because none of the jokes in that are funny. Also, Roger Craig Smith should not be playing Sonic the Hedgehog. I like Roger Craig Smith. I mean, I know I trashed him in my Sonic Colors review, but he's awesome. He's an awesome voice actor. He did Ezio. He did Chris Redfield. He did Batman, for crying out loud. He's done Captain America. He's a great voice actor, but he sounds awful in Sonic Colors. He sounds better in Generations, but, that's just voice clips, essentially. Let me clarify. Sonic Generations on the 3DS, not the home console version. And then he sounds better in Sonic Boom, but, I don't even want to get started on Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom was always going to be a mess. Because you look at it, Sonic Boom is terrible from a design perspective. The world is fine, but it looks like a rip-off Donkey Kong Country. Let's not kid ourselves. It looks like somebody went ahead and just stuck Sonic the Hedgehog and company into Donkey Kong Country. And then Sonic's all weird looking. He's all distended. And that's not even thinking about Knuckles, who... I mean, he looks like Hacker from Cyber Chase. Let's just put it to you that way. And then it's like Amy and Tails, they're fine, but Knuckles and Sonic, no. And as you look at Sonic, and Sonic the Hedgehog is a very efficient piece of visual design, but it's like the guys who were designing for Sonic Boom took a look at the very efficient visual design, the very easy determinations between characters, and thought, let's go ahead and try and stick whatever the kids think is cool these days into it. And so they wind up with their arms wrapped up in bandages like they're all CM freaking Punk. No gloves. No gloves. I mean, if you want to redesign Sonic, put him in a bomber jacket, and give him some aviator sunglasses, That would be cool. This, as it is, they just gave him a scarf, colored his arms blue, and made him way too tall. And wrapped his arms up in bandages and give him like weird little additional spikes hanging off his head rather than his regular quills. Because that's the thing, is that now it looks weird. As it was before, he was iconic. Everybody knows who Sonic the Hedgehog is. Everybody can tell who Knuckles the Echidna is. It's, Sonic the Hedgehog got his green eyes, his quills go down, he's blue, and he goes fast, and he's got those red sneakers. Amy Rose, she's pink. She's got her little dress and her big-ass hammer. Then you got Tails, he's got his two tails, he flies around, and he's yellow. And he's a fox. Then you got Knuckles, he's got the dreadlocks, he's got his massive claws, and he's red. And he's got the thing on his chest. Then you've got Shadow the Hedgehog, darker colored skin, black fur, red eyes, and red highlights on his quills, and they're turned up. Excuse me. And you got Cream the Rabbit. She's a little brown rabbit. Big the Cat. He's big. He's purple. He's a cat. Got his big fishing rod. He's fat. Silver the Hedgehog. Got two quills coming down out the back. He's silver. He's got his green marks on the back of his gloves and those big glowing green rings on his wrists. Blaze the Cat. She's lavender. She's got her jacket. Looks like she's not wearing any pants. That's the thing, is that the Sonic the Hedgehog designs haven't changed a whole lot from medium to medium. You look at the original Sonic the Hedgehog, nothing much has changed. The only thing is that the eyes aren't coal black anymore, but that was a graphical limitation, They would have had them green if they could, most likely. And then you've got the cartoons. No matter how bad the animation was, you could still tell who it was. And then you had the transition to 3D, and they made that transition very well. And through all the redesigns, they've essentially looked the same, with the same sort of template. And they all look like what you'd think they would. Like what you'd think they would based on their Genesis game. You look at Sonic X. You look at Sonic the Hedgehog Saturday Morning. All of those. You can tell all of them. You can tell who all the characters are. Even you look at Sonic Underground, terrible as it was. You look at the Archie comics. Sonic the comic from Europe or wherever. I think that was in Europe. England, one of those places. I know one's a subcontinent and one's a country. But, I can't remember where Sonic the comic was published. But yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog all the way. He's had better cartoons than Mario has. He's had a lot more better games than Mario has. Even though he's had his downs, he's had higher peaks. Because Mario has essentially done nothing new for a very long time. And that's pretty much what killed my interest. And, let's face it, he's been in better comics. Because the Archie comics were awesome for a while there. I mean, they started getting really bad, though. Not necessarily, really bad, but really just kind of dumb. Doing things, bringing in characters that hadn't been there for years. Acting like this wasn't a, let's just go ahead and talk about this. Archie is mismanaged as all hell. Because I started my Sonic Universe subscription right when the series was announced. I was supposed to get the first 2 issues of the Shadow the Hedgehog arc which was the first 2 issues of the series. I was supposed to get those right when they came out. But I go to the comic store, and they're there. And then I go to the bookstore, which used to be up in the mall, and they're there. And I don't get my stuff in the mail, and Archie never does anything about it. And when my Sonic the Hedgehog main series subscription started, they sent me the second half of the whole Scourge the Hedgehog arc with the Hedgehog versus Hedgehog thing, and where they had Shadow Sonic, Shadow Sonic, Silver, Scourge. Can't remember what all they were, but they had all those guys there, all of the Hedgehogs. They sent me the second half of that arc, and then after they'd sent me the next issue, they sent me the first issue of that arc. After having screwed up my copy of the second half of the arc, and then never replacing it when I asked them to replace it, because it was all bent in half. It was all damaged. And then later on, I'd gotten a copy of one of the issues had been put into the bag wrong, because one of the corners had been folded up inside of the bag. And I didn't realize that till I'd opened it up, because it was folded behind the address flyer, you know? And they actually replaced that issue. The thing is that they don't actually have a customer support number that you can call on their website. And they also don't have much in the way of email contacts, at least last I checked. My Sonic the Hedgehog subscription, because I had that for 2 years. When that was renewed, I got the new issue of that immediately. There was no break. But when I started the Sonic Universe subscription, I didn't get that at all. And then it just got to the point where I stopped reading them. I just let the subscription expire because they were doing some weird bullshit with love triangles. And it's like, this is not what I'm here for. It's like, yes, I care about the characters. I care about the interaction with the characters. But oh my god, please do not start bringing in love polygons, because I don't come to Sonic the Hedgehog to read about that. And then it was later on that I got onto the Sega forums and I started finding out exactly how bad the Sonic the Hedgehog fandom really is. And then nowadays it feels like the guy Ken Penders has pretty much ruined the entire series now. I haven't read it for a long time, but I've been meaning to get... I want to find, get like the trade collections and, review those. Let's go back to issue 0 and, of the collections and start reading all of those. Thinking of that, I probably should have picked those up when picked up the classic comics back when the bookstore was going out of business, but I think it just sort of left. And I haven't found any of it since. But yeah, Archie, I have no love for Archie comics. I have absolutely no love for Archie comics. They screwed up the Sabrina the Teenage Witch comics. They started messing with the Sonic the Hedgehog comics. I must have at least 6 issues of Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic Universe that I didn't open up, that are still in their bags. As I remember, I used to take those to Free Comic Book Day every year and get Stephen Butler to sign the ones he'd drawn for. Nowadays, I usually do get something from him signed every year, but yeah. Moving on, favorite PC game? That's not hard at all. Star Wars Force Commander. It's a real-time strategy game set in the Star Wars universe. I love the hell out of it. I literally just found it a couple of months ago because it was in a pile of stuff. Unfortunately, the discs weren't broken like they were when I found my Galaxy Quest DVD. But, yeah. Star Wars Force Commander, hands down. First really good PC game I ever played. Up right after that would probably have to be Fallout, and then probably then comes Chronicles of a Dark Lord episodes 1 and 2, maybe. Then you can go ahead and I'm just looking at my PC games over here real quick. You could probably just throw in the TIE Fighter game, too. Because those are really good. Thank you, Mogul Master. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Konami situation. You guys probably heard about it by now, but if not, let's go ahead and talk about that. One of the designers of the Fox engine has left Konami, and Konami has since decided that they will no longer be developing any more AAA games. Now, you know, if that meant that they weren't going to be putting a whole bunch of money into into making a game in a very short period of time, that would be fine. But Konami has been wanting to go towards the whole mobile market, free-to-play casino games and stuff like that for a long time, and this essentially means that Metal Gear Solid 5 is their last game. Because the only game that they're going to be putting any kind of AAA effort into is the Pro Evolution Soccer games, and those don't freaking count. At all. I just want to make that clear. Sports games don't count. But yeah, everybody was saying Metal Gear Solid 5 is the last game I'm going to be buying from Konami. And, they pretty much... Konami has pretty much said that Metal Gear Solid 5 is their last game. And, after I get Metal Gear Solid 5, if they put out like a subsistence version of that includes all the stuff they cut, then that's going to be the last game I buy from Konami. Because I've actually never bought a Konami game new. I bought Nintendo games new, I bought Capcom games new, I bought Exceed games new, and Quantic Dream. I bought a Quantic Dream game new once. Beyond Two Souls. But I've never bought a Konami game new because I got into Metal Gear Solid. I only got into Metal Gear Solid like a few years ago. And that was after all the games came out of print. The early games anyways. So I got Metal Gear Solid, and then I got MGS2 and MGS3 in the HD collection. I mean, I actually considered buying Metal Gear Solid 5 new. I could probably pay for most of it without having to. I got some gift cards. I could probably pay for almost all of it without actually having to pay real money. But I got to decide: do I want to buy that, or do I want to buy the first Senran Kagura game? Because I got Senran Kagura 2 Deep Crimson in for review, and I kind of don't want to play that without having played the first game. But the thing is that it's $30, and it's only like $15 to buy the Japanese version. And from what I hear, the region-free exploit is piss easy to do. But I've got an Xbox One game in for review that I don't even have an Xbox One. I've got a Wii U game in for review. I don't even have a Wii U, so I got to decide if I want to buy MGS5 or do I want to just wait until the price drops inevitably because, it's a big game and it's going to sell millions of copies if it hasn't already, and it's going to be pretty cheap pretty quick. The thing is, I also need to get Ground Zeroes. Because as it is right now, I've got MGS1, MGS2, MGS3, the HD collection, and then that's pretty much it. So I need to get Guns of the Patriots, Rising Revengeance, and oh yeah, Ground Zeroes. Oh, and Portable Ops. Almost forgot about that. And there's the spin-off games, Metal Gear Solid Ghost Babel, and did they just send me 2 Dead Bits keys? Apparently they did. Huh. I was just redeeming some Steam codes I got. Because I've got like 150 games on Steam here. Only got 22. Sorry, I only got 22 of them installed. This message is all messed up here. There we go. Up to 157. Anyways, there's also the Mad Max game out, too. I wasn't able to get that in for review. And then again, I haven't watched any of the Mad Max movies. I haven't watched The Road Warrior, Mad Max, or Beyond Thunderdome, or Fury Road. Sorry about this. I have to move my microphone from hand to hand sometimes. Anyways, just gonna I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, Konami has essentially signed their own death warrant again. 'Cause first they fired Kojima and dissolved his team because they were, they had the goal to demand and that they be paid for their work on MGS5. Then they fired the guy who worked on the Fox engine with Kojima and the rest of the team, the main designer of the Fox engine. But yeah, Konami is essentially gone. MGS5 is their last game. Not gonna get Castlevania Symphony of the Night 2, not gonna get Lords of Shadow 3, not gonna get MGS 6. Never gonna get Zone of the Enders 3, never gonna get, never gonna get the, another Contra game. No Silent Hills. No Silent Hill 5. I'm pretty much just gonna get all my Konami games from the used bin. Look at the thrift store and places like that, and on Craigslist. So I just want to know how your week has been. That's the command for this week. Just tell me how the last 2 weeks have been for you guys. Yeah, I think I'm done.